I just finished watching an extremely intense stare down, face off, head to head between George Groves and Chris Eubank Jr. at the weigh-in ahead of their World Boxing Super Series Super Middleweight semi-final tomorrow night. Wow, where do I begin? George Groves looked very gaunt at the weight. We know that he's a very big super middleweight, and he looked skeletal at the weigh-in. He's going to look a hell of a lot bigger on fight night in the ring. But yeah, he definitely looked very drained to me. And not only did he look very drained, but he looked very intense, George Groves. When they had the stare down, it's almost as if George Groves went into a trance. He wasn't really as present, if that makes sense, as Chris Eubank Jr. was. Chris Eubank Jr. looked a lot more relaxed, laughing, smirking, and all that kind of thing. Whereas George Groves just was stuck in this tunnel vision trance when he was staring at Eubank Jr. And after they broke off and looked away from each other when Kalasawalan split them up, Groves still looked like he was in a daze, in a trance. Now, some people are going to interpret that Groves has lost it. He's bottled it. He looked shook up, all shook up like Elvis Presley and all that business. But other people are going to say, nah, he's just intensely focused. And he's going to be way more on it and way sharper than Chris Eubank Jr. Here's my interpretation of it. Whether Groves is shook up a la Elvis Presley, or whether he's just extremely focused and intense, what I saw is a demeanor in George Groves, a mental and physical state which is liable to reduce his energy quickly. When you're that intense mentally and physically, your energy is going to drain quickly. That is what I can tell you. So, if he comes to the ring like that, in that kind of trance and intense state, I think he's going to be dangerous early, but he's definitely going to gas out late if he remains in that kind of state, right? But the way George Groves looked in terms of his intensity and his demeanor, that could be linked to the fact that he's having to make weight, and it's a lot more difficult for Groves to make weight than it is for Eubank. Eubank is not a natural super middleweight, so he's not going to look as gaunt, he's not going to look as messed up and disheveled at the weigh-in as George Groves. So perhaps Groves' demeanor had a lot to do with the fact that he has to really push himself to get down to weight. And maybe once he rehydrates, he'll look a lot more relaxed than normal and not so intense and not so in a trance. And therefore, he'll be more relaxed in the ring. That remains to be seen. But if he comes to the ring, I'm going to be very interested watching the ring walks and how he is before the opening bell. Because if he looks like that before the opening bell, yes, he's going to be very dangerous early doors. But his energy is going to deplete quickly if he's that intense. I'm telling you now, he's going to. Eubank Jr., if he remains as relaxed as he was at the weigh-in, he needs to be careful early doors because Groves is going to be sharp. But at the same time, he needs to be careful not to get tagged by anything big and not to get complacent. But at the same time, if he bides his time and he remains as relaxed as that in the later rounds, it's definitely going to help him. So what I'm seeing at the moment is really reaffirming my belief of what's going to happen in the fight. And it's a commonly held belief that Groves is going to have the better of it early and Eubank is going to come on in the late rounds. Whether or not him coming on in the late rounds leads him to victory remains to be seen. I suspect it will, but I definitely wouldn't put my house on it. Let's just put it that way. But the way I see the fight going, from what I've seen of them so far, I think it's going to be Groves controlling the action early, very sharp, very dangerous early, maybe hurting Eubank early. But as the fight progresses, it going the way that we thought it would go. So let me know how you feel in the comment section, people. It's that man, I'm out.